Wasted potential. This is a phrase that is not uncommon amongst comic book movies and TV shows. And today, we are talking about potentially the most wasted potential for any single project. And that is why today we are talking Injustice and its wasted potential for the movie. But before we get into anything, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, hit that noti bell. Alright, Injustice. So this is a movie that if you watch the trailer, it may have gotten you really excited. It showed you key points if you kind of followed along with the comics and obviously played the games. However, as soon as you watch the movie, within the first 5 minutes, you realize that they really didn't read the source material, they probably didn't play the games, and they just made something to make something. In my opinion, I feel like this movie was incredibly rushed, and you could really tell. So to open up, obviously, we get the beginning, and they do that, in my opinion, justice. You have the Joker kidnapping Lois Lane, killing Jimmy Olsen right away, which was wild. I don't have an issue with that. That is fine. That being a change is not a huge issue to me. So as far as that goes, at this point in the film, I'm still enjoying it, and it is still a good movie and still has potential. Then we proceed, and obviously we get into Superman finding out Lois is kidnapped, and he tracks down the Joker. The whole Justice League goes into panic mode, tries to track down the Joker, and that's a really cool moment. And they say, hey, it's one of our own. Awesome moment. Again, that is why I say this may have more wasted potential than any other project. And I say that because right after that really awesome moment of them collaborating and coming together and let's find one of our own, they send the Flash to search the lower levels. And he does this. And he finds Jonathan Crane, and then he gets sprayed with fear toxin, and then all of a sudden, a giant saw comes out from the side and slits his throat, or it cuts his head off. You cut away, but all you see is a ton of blood, and he's dead. They kill the Flash off in the first 5 to 8 minutes of the movie. This is a character that was around for all 5 books in the comics, and was also in both games. He was an integral part of the series, and they just decided, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna kill him off right away, before the Joker even gets killed. So right away, you know, okay, this movie is going to be essentially nothing like it was in the comics and then what followed in the video games. And that really is the biggest issue with this, is they did not either read the source material or they just didn't care about the source material. And both are huge, huge problems. And that's why this film was not received well at all by audiences. And it's a real shame because it does have really cool moments. The interaction between Batman and Joker, where he's asking him, why did you do this? It's always been about us. And the Joker says to him, I always lose when it comes to you. So I wanted to try a game on easy mode. And that's why I went after Superman. And then he goes into how this is going to create some type of apocalyptic event because he knows Superman's gonna snap. Superman doesn't have the will deep down that Batman has to go through these tragedies of losing Jason Todd, of what happened to Tim Drake, Barbara Gordon. If something like that happens to Lois Lane, he's gonna snap, and that is what this story is about, showing that. And then, again, after the Joker gets killed by Superman, they do that moment perfectly, exactly how it is in the comics and in the flashbacks in the video games. No issue there. But then we get to the Justice League, and they're debating about it, and guess what? All the magical users, they're done, they're gone. They're essentially gone from the entire story, except for Raven, for about 2 minutes. Everyone else decides, oh yeah, the magical users, we just want to stay out of this. So they just leave. Aquaman, they're staying out of it, so he's gone. So again, key players in this story are just gone to make way for what, realistically? Again, they do a good job at certain aspects. Like when they have Batman's team going to the Fortress of Solitude and Pa Kent getting killed. Jonathan Kent gets killed by Green Arrow in an accidental way. And that moment is awesome. It's a really, really great scene. And then you have Superman kill Green Arrow. Again, amazing scene. It is done pretty much perfectly, in my opinion. Again, would I have done it a little bit different? Yes, but there's a difference between a personal preference and wanting little different nuances and them just destroying the whole story. Again, if that was the only issue with this movie, that they just had little nuances where they did different, but the main story beats and character traits and character deaths stayed the same, it would have been fine. It would have been a really, really good movie. And I think why I say this movie is perhaps the most wasted potential is because this had a chance to be one of, if not the best comic book films of all time. The Injustice comic book run was incredibly popular, and so were the two video games, so much so that I'm almost positive they are doing a third video game, which again, I have issue with because unfortunately Kevin Conroy won't be a part of it, so I think it should just kind of remain how it is, but that's neither here nor there. Right now, talking about the movie. The other big areas in which, in my opinion, that they really, really went wrong was also the ending of it. They rush it so much to the point where we get Ra's al Ghul ends up being the final boss villain that they all team up to face, and then when everyone defeats him, Superman just kind of snaps even more, which is still really out of character because in this, Wonder Woman isn't pushing him, and even she says he's gone way too far. These people just helped you, and now what? You're just gonna turn on them? And again, it doesn't make sense. So then he fights that other version of Superman, and unlike in the video game where the good Superman beats Injustice Superman, no, Injustice Superman wins, and oh, how do we beat him? Pregnant Lois Lane walks over, and her version of Superman died fighting Brainiac. So we end up just talking him down. So again, would that be a change that I would absolutely hate if the other aspects of this movie weren't horrible? No. I think it could have been really cool, but it felt so rushed. So much was happening in that last 15 minutes that it took away a lot of the emotion and a lot of the weight to that moment because it didn't have enough time to kind of be with this Superman and to see the extent to what he's done and to help him even maybe start to regret it even before this moment. He goes from 0 to 100 crazy, and then as soon as he sees her, just automatically snaps out of it. Again, I get it's Lois Lane and I get she's pregnant, but still, it's so much changing of the character so drastically in such a short time. I've seen a lot of people out there say they should have done a series. And while I think that would have been cool, I think even that would have maybe been a mistake. Again, it could have been cool. But in my opinion, what they should have done is what they did with the other terrible adaptation, Crisis on Infinite Earths, where they had 3 movies. And what they really could have done with that is have the actions of what happens in Injustice in the very beginning. Have the Joker get killed in the beginning of the movie, and then you see Superman devolve. And the first movie ends with Superman and Batman's first conflict together, and Batman being defeated, having his back broken. And in the second movie, Batman has to recover from that. And you have Superman going deeper and deeper down this hole, getting worse and worse. And then, the thing that makes me the most mad is they didn't adapt my favorite part of this whole story, and that is when the Green Lantern Corps comes in, and they fight Superman, and you see Superman have the yellow lantern ring. That moment was so awesome. It is such a shame that we never got to see that in animation, and we probably will never get to see it because they're not going to just remake the story, at least not for the next 15, 20 years, which again is a huge shame because seeing Superman wield that ring would have been spectacular. You have him do what he does in the comics, wipe out a lot of them, kill Black Canary, and have all of that proceed. And then the end of that movie would be Superman being defeated by the other universe Superman. And then the third movie, you can have be pretty much the second game. And that way everything's going to flow nicely. Superman will be behind bars. You can have Batman and Superman have great interactions of him in that cell. And then you can have Brainiac come and him come to the realization, that being Batman, hey, we need Superman. You can have that reunion, have that battle against Brainiac, and then you can have Batman versus Superman with the gold kryptonite, with Batman's suit, and Batman defeating Superman. Again, I feel like if they did it this way, it would have been, in my opinion, easily a top 5 superhero story we've ever seen in animation. It would have been spectacular. Would all 3 movies be in the top 5? No, that's unrealistic. But I really do think at least one of them would have been in the top 5, maybe even top 3. And to say 2 of them could have made the top 5, that's really realistic. Again, I feel like that second movie specifically had more potential than anything because there is so much story you could tell there, especially with the Green Lantern Corps. And the fact that we barely got any Green Lantern in this movie was also a shame. Again, I'm not even gonna really touch on the Flash getting killed in the first 5 minutes because, again, he's a main character. We also don't get to see Billy Batson get killed by Superman. That's a major plot point. Again, I feel like a lot of the biggest moments in this story and in this comic run, in the video game, didn't get adapted. And the moments that did, almost all of them fell short, aside from the one in the beginning, and that's him killing the Joker. Aside from the first 5 minutes of the film, the movie's not good. And again, it sucks because the Flash moment is within that first probably 5 to 8 minutes, and then you have the cool moment with the Joker, and then again, it just keeps going downhill. I won't touch on the Nightwing stuff because personally, even the way they did it in the comics, I hate. Nightwing is my favorite DC character. So the fact that they kill him off in the way they kill him off pisses me off. So, they adapted that perfectly in this movie, but either way, I hate. So, that would be the only thing of, if they're gonna change something, change that, give us more Nightwing. But don't change the key points, killing off the Flash, sidelining Green Lantern and every other Green Lantern, and 90% of the Justice League. Again, that's not a recipe for success and for your fans to enjoy the story. This is a story that fans really do love, both in the comics and the video games. It was a very popular video game, even still popular today. So again, that's why I really do truthfully believe that this movie is one of, if not the most, wasted potential we've ever seen for a comic book movie. But let me know what all of you think in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, like this video, subscribe to the page, hit that noti bell, and I will see all of you in the next video. Goodbye.